Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Saturday, July the 22nd, and you are back here with the Wise Guys. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican on Sports, Mike Martinez, and let me bring in my co-host, Mr. JC Blue Note himself, Jim Carnidian. James, our week off from content last week, by the way, I have gotten many compliments on the way we started the show.
but nobody made it to the end of the show.
I showed. We almost didn't.
Right.
I played the new opening for Steph and Bobby Sunday morning, and when I pop on after your little PSA at the beginning and start it the way I did, she looks at me and she goes, "Please tell me this is not the way every episode's going to start from now on."
No, Steph, you're off the hook. That was a one-time only thing. That was something I put together about 36 hours before we went live.
Well, it was a lot of fun last week too.
Yeah, it's and that will not be a once-a-year thing, because after I went back and watched it, that might be like a quarter thing.
Yeah, I think a quarter, maybe even biannually, or we tie that into the Wisies or something.
I think it's almost going to have to be the Wisies.
Yeah, I think so too. And as you see, contractually, he's sleeping.
But he's still there. You know,
it's like us on a weekday. We don't want to be at the office. We're there, but we're sleeping.
Don't remind me. My office partner's off next week, so I'm flying solo. So
yeah, we're down with person 2 next week. So we got a lot to get to tonight. We're gonna open the show with a championship of sorts. For a team that we follow. We have some baseball to get to. We have some stupidity to get to, which, i.e., the Browns. Dude, I'm heated. And, of course, as always, we will have the Wisey Translator, which will come to you as the last segment of the show. I feel like this is our version of Jeff Foxworthy's You Might Be a Redneck.
Or Bill Engvall's Here's Your Sign. Yeah, so...
Or Ron White telling the I got thrown out of a bar in New York City story.
Because they call me tater salad.
They threw me into public.
I was drunk in a bar. They threw me into public.
Hey. Oh man!
Cool.
Speaking of, so we're big sports guys, and I am actually on my television right now is Peacock, Xfinity down south, dude. Let me tell you this: I get the random email the other day, and they're like, "Hey, because you have your gig plan for Xfinity, you can get 2 years of Peacock for free." I'm like, yeah. And I'm just flipping through. Now, me personally, because I do enjoy soccer every now and again, I will be checking out the Women's World Cup when I can. As I mentioned to you before we got on August the 27th, the Mets and Angels will be the early game on that Sunday. Of course, I'll be awake early that Sunday. Because there's no Wise Guys at 26. It's my wedding anniversary, and I want to hit 13 years. So
all lucky number 13 jokes aside,
Exactly. So let's start with some happy news before we get to the real fucking stupidity. And is it the second time in 3 years, or is it the second year in a row?
They didn't win it last year, I don't think.
Then they won it in Mobley's rookie year.
I could have sworn this was the first time they ever won it.
I think they've done it before, and we are actually talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers Summer League team winning the Summer League championship. Imoni Bates is for real. Let me just say that.
Yeah, the kid definitely looks like he can play. Isaiah Mobley definitely stepped up. Yeah, the since they've been doing it, um, going back to 2013, at least with the current format, it's the first time the Cavaliers have done it.
Okay, I thought they had won it before. They got to the final before.
No, they haven't. Since 2013, since they've been in Vegas, they have not been to the finals.
I thought they had been to the finals.
There's and we also got to remember that there were there was the Salt Lake City Summer League, there was the California Classic Summer League, the Orlando Pros Summer League for a while. But if you look up the NBA Summer League, how it's as it's colloquially known as the Las Vegas Summer League, um, it actually says the current NBA Summer League, according to Wikipedia, also features the California Classic, the Salt Lake City Summer League, in addition to the Las Vegas Summer League. In previous years, the Utah Jazz Summer League also featured NBA teams, as did the Orlando Pro Summer League. Those, those leagues are sometimes referred to as NBA Summer League when mentioned with its host location. So since they've exclusively kind of been doing it in Vegas since 2013, this is the first time the Cavs made the finals, let alone won it.
Okay, so I thought they had done it a couple years ago, either with
They
Garland
tried.
or Sexton.
I want to say that they were maybe a semifinal team a couple of years ago, and that's what you might be
Gotcha,
thinking of.
gotcha. Okay, so listen, it's a Cavs championship, summer league notwithstanding. I mean, these are guys trying to prove themselves to get onto a roster, whether it's for the Charge or it's for the Cavaliers. So I watched some highlight packages. Obviously, I don't have regular cable. Yeah, Amoni Bates is for real. And I think Isaiah Mobley is going to be on the 12 to start the season.
They have to.
Well, not even have to. I think he's earned it. He played outstanding in that last game. I mean, he went off.
The only fear that I actually have is right now, as well as these guys played. Now, granted, it was against guys looking for a job or very very early on in their in their careers. That could they potentially kind of get squeezed on the back end, considering how active they were in free agency? Because you figure you lost two, out of your normal rotation, but you added four, and now you add
Yeah,
two more on top of that.
yeah, and one thing I think JB Bickerstaff's going to learn after the debacle that was the playoffs last year is that he's got to have a rotation that makes sense. Number one, and number two, he's got to stick to it.
Well, one of the stories I'm actually hearing is that depending on what happens early in the season, you could maybe see Ricky Rubio taking a buyout and going and finishing up the last year or so of his career playing back in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, he's already said that he's not playing in Spain. I did see that come out. 19th professional season for him. He's only 32.
Right, but he was one of these, and what, didn't he play a year or two professionally in Spain before he got drafted or something?
He played a few
How
years.
how that all works out, yeah.
He basically had to go pro at like 15 to do this.
Over there, it's a lot different, yeah.
It really is. Because even Luka's played how many years professionally before he came to the NBA?
Right, he played 2 or 3 years. Wembanyama was playing a year or two pro up until he just got drafted a couple of weeks back.
Speaking of the number one pick, I saw something the other day on TikTok. A guy said, "What happens when someone breaks into your house and then you realize it's Wemby and you just sit down and play your video games?" Because he started shooting. Don't shake your head. That was wonderful. Almost as good as the Kung Fu Bunny one.
I had a better one for that.
Yours was really good.
I have a better one.
What was that one?
Get over here!
Yes, that is better. And anything that includes a reference to the Van Damme spear, I'm down.
Yeah. They try. Steph, if you're watching, you got to see that new trailer. Melee is back from Mortal Kombat 4, I want to say. Tanya's back. The DLC pack that's coming out, I don't even know all their names, but the J.K. Simmons character is in it. I I don't even remember what his name is. And then John Cena Peacemaker is in there, and they're going to be voicing their own characters.
Did you watch any of the Peacemaker?
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
Whatever it's on Prime or.
It was
whatever.
on HBO Max.
Yeah, I don't. I don't subscribe to that.
So apparently, in the last episode, he's carrying somebody out they were trying to rescue, and the Justice League shows up, and it's Gal Gadot. The only three you know are there are Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, and Ezra Miller. And it was hilarious. Cena's walking out, looks all beat up, and says, "Go fuck a fish." I didn't fuck a fish. I hate that rumor. It's not a rumor. Fuck you, Barry.
I actually like The Flash, even though it was way too damn long.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me enough. I'm just a Marvel guy, though, Jim. It's Batman crosses all lines, but I'm a Marvel guy.
See, I used to be a Marvel guy. I was a big X-Men guy, growing up, especially with the TV show, the cartoon from the, yeah.
Speaking of, did you hear Nickelodeon and Paramount got the rights to run the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon again? Kevin Eastman announced it at Comic-Con.
Dude.
Next year.
Wow.
Next year.
God, we had some really, really good cartoons.
Did you see the movie that what's his name's doing? That's coming out? There's a new Ninja Turtles movie. It's animated. Seth Rogen's behind it.
Pass.
Dude, the main mutant they're fighting is voiced by Ice Cube. Snoop is in on it. Dude, I'm going to read you the voice cast. The voice cast is sick. Just absolutely insane. Because the turtles are voiced by kids. Like legit teenagers. But the mutants are like, not only is Rogen the guy running the show, he's also, I want to say him and Cena are Bebop and Rocksteady. Yeah, I mean, you can't see Bebop or Rocksteady, but... All right, so let me read you the voice cast as we, go way off the thing real quick. Rose Byrne is Leatherhead.
Okay.
Jackie Chan is Master Splinter.
Agreed.
Seth Rogen and John Cena are Bebop and Rocksteady. Paul Rudd is a character called Mondo Gecko. Giancarlo Esposito is Baxter Stockman. Maya Rudolph is Cynthia Utrom.
Okay.
Ice Cube is a mutant named Superfly.
I know Superfly.
Post Malone is Ray Fillet.
Screw that guy.
Hannibal Buress is Genghis Frog.
Hannibal Buress is funny as hell.
I know. That's the voice cast in this new one coming out later this year.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and the animation style is phenomenal. But yeah, this is basically the big kids version of what we wanted. And they said when they were casting it, they wanted to do teenagers to voice the turtles, and they did that.
Which is kind of the right way to go.
Agreed. And if anyone but Jackie Chan would have, or for that, or Kevin Clash to voice Master Splinter, I'd have been a little pissed.
Would have been, who would have been my pick, but unfortunately we lost him last year. Kevin Conway, who was the voice of Batman in the animated series.
I don't think you could have done it, and here's why. And then we'll get back to the Cavs. He was too iconic as Batman.
Did you see when the Arrowverse and all those shows crossed over?
I saw that.
Where he was Bruce Wayne in the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I did see that. Did you hear that Mark Hamill will never do the Joker again because Kevin Conway passed away?
Which is completely.
He said that's my Batman. I can't,
Yeah.
No, I get it.
Although,
So
although Mark Hamill was a cock knocker.
I love when they Chris Rock had the best line in that movie. Oh, George Lucas is about to sue somebody.
Any boogers in it? Taste the booger flavor. I know it's in there.
All right,
Okay,
this was from last week.
I was gonna say I gotta stop myself. That was last week. We'll save that for the fall.
Oh God. So, anyways, let's go back to the Cavs. Let's talk about this roster that Kobe Altman and his front office have built. Which, Jim, am I going on a limb and saying that they may be the most improved roster in the NBA this year, with other moves they could make coming?
Yeah, but I can't figure out what other. I mean, this roster is relatively stacked. You did not lose any of your starters from last year. You moved, Kevin moved out, and you got a couple of younger, pieces for that, a lot more cost effective. And then you went out and you basically, yeah, you did have to do a sign and trade with Chetty. Chetty's going to get a very warm welcome for the 2 games he's going to play next year as a member of the Heat. Well, and to an extent, Lamar Stevens as well, because of the last 2 years that he's really kind of flourished with this team in a defensive capability. But it's definitely addition by subtraction between Ty Jerome, Max Strus, Jiang. I mean, that's 3 quality players right there.
Yeah, no, agreed. As I go to pull up the roster here, look, I think Amoni Bates is going to make the team coming out of camp. Damian Jones was a nice addition. We had talked about that briefly a couple weeks ago. Can I say I think the odd man out's going to be Dylan Windler? And be wrong?
There's a possibility that Windler's not even brought back. It's because of his contract and his injury history.
Why? Just the injury history. I mean, to me, just the injury history is a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the guy has showed flash in the pan stuff, and again, I liked him coming out of college. But if you have a chance to put Isaiah and Evan Mobley on the same roster and give Amoni Bates a shot to develop at the level in the NBA, I think with the stamp of approval you got from Donovan Mitchell and Bates, you kind of have to.
And the other aspect is that, if either one of these guys flourish, I got a feeling that the odd man out may not even be Dylan Windler because, he's a back-end kind of guy. I think Isaac Okoro's days may be numbered.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can do that. And we talked about this. Okoro, whereas Mobley is a good defender, and if he puts some weight on and works on technique, could be a good rim protector, Isaac Okoro is still your best on-ball defender. And unfortunately, with the guard play now in the Eastern Conference getting better with some of the moves these teams have made, you can't lose him. Listen, I love Darius Garland and I love Donovan Mitchell. But if you were putting together an all-defensive team right now, those two were on the end of the bench. When it comes to the Cavaliers, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the way Okoro plays defense. If you get anything out of him, I think he's a good 6-man. I really do. I think you got to start somebody who's going to put some more points on the board to start, who is decent defensively. But you need Okoro to come in spots where you need to shut somebody down.
Yeah, which is actually why I think he stays in the starting rotation. And
you think he stays and Strus comes off the bench?
I'd have to think so because typically you want him, because you are correct, he is your best on-ball defender. But the aspect of that would be you typically want to put him up against the starting 2 or the starting 3 on the opposing squad, and that's typically going to be at the start of each half. So I mean he's going to have to be run out there, and then that's where you rotate in Karis LeVert. That's where you rotate in Max Strus. That's where Dieng's going to come in there. Um, uh, Lawson is. I'm sorry. Why did I just say Lawson? The kid from Golden State. You're going to be able to. I mean, you're now very deep in the backcourt, whereas last
Jones.
year, yeah,
Jones.
but you're also. I mean, think of the fact of Rubio could be out, Neto could be out, before long. But I mean, you actually now you plug these two guys in, and take those two guys out. It's definitely addition by subtraction again.
No, and you're absolutely right. The thing I'll say is this: you have maybe the best offensive backcourt in the Eastern Conference. Because the best offensive backcourt in the Western Conference is going to be Clay and Steph until the day they hang them up. And you and I, even though we know that and can't friggin' stand it, it's the truth. So you have the best offensive backcourt in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, in Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. What you don't have, and Willie was right when we talked about this, when we talked about the trade, is they don't have a lot of size on the backcourt. They're both 6'2".
Yeah.
What's Okoro?
And LeVert ain't much taller.
No, Okoro's 6'5". Karis LeVert is 6. No, Karis LeVert's 6'6".
Yes, I mean, you also have versatility where you can play LeVert at the 2 or the 3.
That's true. Hey, is Danny Green going to come back, you think, or are they going to part ways with him?
I think they part ways.
Okay. What about the rumor that Jared Allen's going to get traded?
Can we just stop that, please?
Listen, I don't think it's going to happen either. I'm more asking that for what are you hearing on the ground at home?
People keep trying to speak it into existence. I don't see it.
I don't know how they do that and have a complete roster.
No.
It's back. It's back.
Well, I mean, that's probably why that's why we're going up so late tonight, guys, is because we were having some audio issues, because apparently Chrome updated something before the Chromebooks updated something and kind of threw all the settings off. So what I actually have to say to Google right now is,
you have to stop the Q-tip when there's resistance.
Yes! You said you had a Chandler Bing one on there for me today. The only other one that I want on there, besides the Dom DeLuise, wrong!
That's, like I said, I was trying to clip it. I'm still working on it. I can't find a version of it that doesn't look like somebody ripped it off the original VHS from 1984.
I gotta find this. So let's shift. Let me give you this one last take on the Cavs, and then let's shift over to the schmucks. And I don't mean the Mets. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna say it again. If this team ends up the 3 or the 4 seed again this year and wins a series and moves on, I don't think Mitchell's going to leave. I do not think he's going to leave. I will go out and say it. I think he'd be stupid to leave.
Yeah, I don't think that happens, because especially what we talked about with Willie 2 weeks ago about the possibility of Embiid maybe going to New York. You got to think after moving Toppin and with all those picks now, they've got to be working on something.
The Knicks are going to be an absolute shit show. They're going to be an absolute shit show.
Anything that actually causes Philadelphia to go into like a 5th rebuild in the last 10 years, I'm all for.
5th rebuild in the last 10 years. This would be the 8th rebuild in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, what they tried the Noel and Embiid thing, and it flopped. You know, you brought in Ben Simmons, it flopped. You brought in Harden, and we got, you know, Willie's take on him 2 weeks ago. That's I needed to correct myself. That's Brother Willie.
Brother Willie.
Yeah, that clip went up about 20 minutes before we went live.
Yeah, it's got an A on it, not an ER.
Yeah, I got to go back in and correct it because it wasn't adding to the playlist. So I'll fix that when I fix the playlist tonight.
Yeah, it's Brother Willie. So let's go down by the lake and let's talk about the Cleveland Browns and who opened camp. Why are they going to West Virginia? What the fuck? Really? West Virginia?
Get them away from Cleveland. I mean, sometimes you get teams that just do this. It's you know, just they're not. I mean, you know, for the first couple of days they'll actually go down there. What, didn't I actually see something like the Jets were up or somebody was up in Wisconsin that wasn't the Packers?
The Packers, the Cowboys did it years ago.
Yeah, but somebody was doing it recently, I thought.
I got nothing. I don't know. Because let me tell you something right now about that damn team. So we have more controversy with the Cleveland Browns. Perry and Winfrey was released. What happened? I saw was a charge, or what was it?
Allegedly, it was something that he threatened a woman at gunpoint or something like that, or there was a firearm involved, and actually ended up taking her phone and her friend's phone, and then like put him in a crate or a container in an alley like 2 blocks away. Like she had claimed that he had slept with her or something, but it wasn't assault or whatever, and was saying, you know, hey, like, you remember me or something? He said not or whatnot. It was a whole he said, she said, but he completely went off the handle with his reaction. And the girl got it on video too.
Doesn't he know what he said, she said with that organization? You get $230 million?
Yeah, but he also had an off-field thing
last year.
Yeah. So this is 2 wrongs don't make a right, and cut your losses. I mean,
but 26.
Being reactionary, but the problem is it's about 18 months too late, and it's the wrong guy.
Yeah, but 26 wrongs gives you $230 million.
That we know of.
Yeah.
Because remember, original report said it was upwards of 67.
Well, that's how many he used. There's a toothless comment I could make about where they're going for camp right now, but I won't do that. It's wrong. It's mean. It's hurtful. Country roads. Get them the hell out.
What? By the Joey Tribbiani logic of geography, wouldn't that be like East Virginia or West Carolina or?
It doesn't matter. It's all a moo point.
Say hello to the geography master, 58. Sometimes, just for shits and giggles, I'll go on Sporkle and actually just try and do that. I think I've done it once.
Yeah, do you know what I did last night? Figured out that Immaculate Grid has football now, too. And I pulled one. What player played for both the Arizona Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns? And when I say it to you, you will be shocked that I pulled this out of the air.
Jameer Miller?
Phil Dawson.
That's right. I mean, that's a little odd. That's a little on the nose, but
Well, the point, I got one of them that I got right in the football thing was a 3,000-yard passer for the Jets. I got .01 because I picked Richard Todd.
I don't even know who that is.
He was the quarterback they drafted out of Alabama to replace Joe Namath.
Name the only passer in Cleveland Browns history to throw for more than 4,000 yards. Only one.
Brian Sipe. Red Right 88.
Anyway.
Yeah, but listen, let's get into the Browns a little bit. Just a little bit. Let's talk about...
We'll be doing our NFL preview sometime next month along with our college football preview.
Yeah, with the college football preview being more important, if you ask me, but that's just me. As my podiatrist showed me the video of his son going crazy when Noah Ruggles missed that kick. Shut up.
Shut up. I didn't say anything.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So let's talk about a team that, in my opinion, is not going to finish over 500. On paper, they look very good. They do. I don't trust the man under center.
You know, somebody brought this up, is what kind of confidence do you have in the Browns' overall receiving core? And let's be
None.
honest, here's the thing, though. There's a lot of good talent in that receiving room. The problem is the guy getting them the ball.
Here's where I have the issue with the receiving core. Is I see in my head what it could have been. Bless you.
Thank you.
I muted before to cough too. I love these. My issue is I saw what it could have been had you not sold the farm for an unproven quarterback.
Right.
And let me unproven in this element and outside of a dome. Because remember, he was 11-11 going into last year, and they lost more than they won once he took over.
Right, and then you also figure, if we can play hindsight 2020 devil's advocate right now, is that if you don't give him up, it may not be Baker, but you actually have the money to be able to go out and get a free agent, out there, or you draft somebody and kind of bring them along. But you also have possibly Olave, possibly
Garrett Wilson,
Addison, Leslie. You've got, where you were picking, you've got two starting potential at the very worst. You would have actually picked up a guy who would have actually started the year as your third option in the slot and still had Amari Cooper out there with a quarterback who, and think of just how good that receiving room would have been. Because now, if you think about it, David Bell and Anthony Schwartz, one of those guys is not going to make the roster, and the other one's going to
Schwartz.
Yeah, and then the other one's going to be on a very, very short leash.
Well, the thing that gets me is, and it goes back to what I thought the Browns should have done instead of this, and that's give Baker that fifth year, go out and get that receiver, and then you've given no excuses. You've got no excuses. We've just given you every weapon possible. On top of the good offensive line, on top of the good tight end room, on top of the best running back in football, and a great running back room overall, when you still had Kareem Hunt and Dearness Johnson, there's no excuse offensively for that team with the weapons they could have had. Now, there are excuses with this team because, again, Amari Cooper, who is a number one, who's the dude they got from the Jets?
Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Hang on, go ahead.
Because he's garbage. Because he was made available because Garrett Wilson is 10 times better than him.
I will say, talk amongst yourselves. I shall give you yet another topic.
A pea is neither a pea nor a nut. Or a peanut is neither a pea nor a nut. Discuss.
The Branch Davidians were neither Branch nor Davidians. Discuss.
Wow. My personal favorite was on the show Mock the Week in Britain. They were talking about questions on this year's exams, and a guy comes out and goes, what's the name of the flat thing that's thrown in a track and field meet? Discuss.
Oh, God, the puns. Puns, I tell you.
Oh, the Brits. That show, it's off the air now. It was called Mock the Week, and they would take things, they would make fun of, like, headlines, but then they would do almost like a Who's Line type thing where you're given a topic and you got to come up with the funniest stuff. They were canceled, and then the last one they did, it was called Things You Won't Hear on Mock the Week, and someone comes out and goes, welcome to season 22.
Well, I was driving home from work yesterday, and a certain song comes on.
What song would that be, James?
Love is a Battlefield.
Oh,
First thing
little
I
Pat
can think
Benatar.
of, Bend a car, Pat Benatar.
I thought you were going to say 13 going on 30.
Not quite in that instance.
Jesus. So, I mean, I can't remember the guy's name. But
I'm pulling it up now. I actually had to go to ESPN because how is it the Browns do not, on their official website, don't have a depth chart listed now for their roster?
The wise guy's answer is because it's the fucking Browns.
Okay.
Because Jimmy Haslam's worried about keeping Giannis in Milwaukee.
Okay, receiving room right now, and this is even with guys coming into camp. Michael Woods, Austin Watkins, Cedric Tillman, who you drafted, Schwartz, Donovan Peoples-Jones, the guy they got from the Jets, Elijah Moore.
Okay.
Rashad Henry, who's in his second year out of Virginia, Michael Harley, first year out of Miami, Jakeem Grant, Marquise Goodwin is the big one that you picked up. Jalen Darden is definitely a bit of a burner. Amari Cooper, David Bell may not make the team, and also Dalen Baldwin from Michigan. And then your tight ends right
Njoku.
now, Jordan Atkins, Harrison Bryant, Thomas Greeny, who you drafted, Zaire Mitchell, and Njoku. I mean,
two of those tight ends are going to play special teams.
Yeah, but that's very deep right now. And then your running back room: Nate McCreary, John Kelly, Hassan Hall, Jerome Ford, Felton, and Chubb. And then Watson, if you count him.
Well, Felton and Chubb are going to be the starter and the backup.
Yeah, but also don't count out Jerome Ford, considering you drafted him last year. John Kelly is definitely, he's 5'10", 208, and could be a little bit of a bruiser. Same thing with Nate McCreary. So, I mean, this team could potentially carry 4 running backs.
If they carry 4 running backs, they're going to cut one of the other rooms short. Because, I mean, I can see it, but the thing
I still see 3 tight ends. I still see 3 running backs on the active roster, and a couple of those guys will. At least 2 of those guys will be on the practice squad.
My question is the O-line.
The way that they stack the defense this year.
Listen, Greg Williams is going to have a great unit. JOK went back to number 6 like he had at Notre Dame. Greg Newsome went to 0, and Denzel Ward went to 212, which is the hospital room he'll be in half the season.
God damn it, you beat me to it.
Yeah, I know. I meant to do that. All kidding aside, if he stays healthy, him and Newsome are an elite defensive backfield. They still need help at safety.
Yeah, because
they brought people in, didn't they?
They brought in Rodney McLeod. Juan Thornhill could actually could maybe step in and be a starter there, because I got a feeling with Delpit's injury history, his leash is very thin.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing that's killing them, is that Delpit didn't work out. Why is it the LSU defensive backs fall apart outside of the Honey Badger?
Yeah,
Look what happened to Greedy.
Greedy was a joke.
That's what I'm saying. Greedy was a steal that year. Grant Delpit was a steal in round two, both of them.
And Delpit tears his ACL in training camp.
Achilles.
Year. Yeah.
So, no, it's... This team is going to go as far as Deshaun Watson takes them. And let's remember...
Because their biggest problem last year overall was their way that they contested the run. So you went out and you got Sam Kamara, you got Okoronkwo, or however you pronounce his name. You got Zadarius Smith, Alex Wright coming back, Jordan Elliott coming back, Maurice Hurst you brought in, Tommy Togiai is probably going to get moved out, Dalvin Tomlinson on the one-year deal. So you addressed everything you needed to on the defensive line, and now you actually take some of the pressure with the run off of the linebackers, which is why you had Taki and JOK get hurt, so frequently in such a crucial period last year, because they were expected to now be the 7th and 8th guys in the box.
Yeah, so I still think linebacker is going to be tough for them. JOK, Taki are still there, but outside of that, I don't know if they have any thumpers in the linebacking room.
Well, you got Anthony Walker back after his injury.
Okay.
Jacob Phillips you got coming back. Tony Fields you brought in. Matthew Adams could actually make the back end. You've got a young rookie who we actually saw, watching a little bit of Pac-12 in Mahmoud Diabate from Utah, who can definitely play. Jordan Kanazik was one of your free agent signings that you hope can add a little bit of depth. So, I mean, they're a lot better now at linebacker with their depth than they were last year.
Yeah. Greg Williams is not their defensive coordinator. Who the hell is it?
Jim Schwartz.
Jim Schwartz. I just heard the Greg thing in my head when we were talking about it. Yeah. Jim Schwartz is going to have a good unit. I don't know if the other...
Let's also be honest. If things go south early, we actually could be talking about him as the interim head coach.
No, I think they'll give him a full season.
If they go 1-5 or 2-1, let's say 2-6,
they're going to give him a full season with Deshaun. They're going to give him a full season with Deshaun.
If it's like 1-5, 2-6 out the blocks, something like that.
Jim, they're gonna give him a full season with Deshaun. The real question becomes, how angry is Deshaun going to be if this team goes 7-10, 6-11?
I mean, if that's the case, could they actually, considering that's where they kind of finished the last couple of years, could they actually, bring in Jeff Fisher for some more 8-9 bullshit? Because after all, he was the head coach when we got.
The guy is drunk, but there he goes.
That's wonderful. The only thing I say is when we do the NFL preview, we'll dive more into it. But I think sorry, my eye is itching like crazy. I think the big takeaway from this era of Cleveland Browns football is going to be what if? What if that hit gets called? If that hit gets called in Kansas City, I said it before, even though you love Buffalo, that team would have had so much momentum coming off of it and so much confidence. I think they would have won that game in Buffalo. They get to a Super Bowl against Tom Brady and those boys, and now Who knows? But the bottom line is this. If they would have won those next two games, the one where they got hosed and the next one, their quarterback for the 5 years after that would have been Baker Mayfield. Sorry, he bit me. It unfortunately with the Browns since 99, the what if game has been the way it's been.
Right.
But, this is going to be the biggest what if since the drive.
Well, let's open up the Wayback Machine here if we can, and delve into that for just a moment, because it's not even really part of a preview, because look at the quarterbacks that you could have played what if since they came back. Couch was supposed to be the guy, and they had nothing because they were an expansion team and busted
but they never looked at an offensive line. Let's just go there. Tim Couch could have been a not an all-time great. He would have been a good NFL quarterback had they actually put people in front of him that could block.
And then you had great numbers, and then tried to turn the franchise over to Kelly Holcomb, but let's be honest, was a career backup. You caught lightning in a bottle for a year with Derek Anderson, and that flopped. Who actually took over from Charlie Fry, who you were expecting to be your quarterback of the future.
And then there was the there was the great Brandon Weedon.
Which actually set off a chain reaction of first-round draft picks, mid-first-round draft picks, not even high caliber, not even top-tier first-round draft picks that, everyone was hoping that the franchise would turn over to, but yet they still didn't do anything with the offensive line, or when they didn't put weapons around them. So you had Whedon, you had Brady Quinn, and you had Colt McCoy.
And then there was the latest Netflix special, Johnny Football.
Right.
Who was outplayed by the ageless wonder who is now the quarterback's coach of the Carolina Panthers, Josh McCown.
AKA helicopter.
Here's the biggest what if with the Browns, and I'm going to put something to rest right now. And I'm going to sound like a Baker bro, but I can tell you this. I don't believe Patrick Mahomes. I don't believe Josh Allen. I don't believe Sam Darnold. I don't believe who was the one that Arizona drafted that they got rid of a year later?
Wasn't Kyler.
Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen, yeah. I knew it was Josh.
None of them would have survived the BS and hilarity that was the Cleveland Browns front office for a good 5 to 6 year stretch. It was a clusterfuck of all proportions. You had a guy who didn't care, and you booted him because you thought he needed to put up bigger numbers. Well, guess what? How many quarterbacks have led the Cleveland Browns to an 11-win season? Because I can tell you I know them off the top of my head. Otto Graham, Brian Sipe, Bernie Kosar, and Baker Mayfield. And I didn't live in Cleveland until 1993.
And remember, Baker did not play a couple of games during that because that was the COVID year.
I think he missed one.
Because of
COVID.
Right.
And then the next year he missed another one because of it.
Yep.
So yeah, this is what we're talking about.
And let's also be honest, it's that, the following year where they didn't make the playoffs, which was still kind of coming out of the COVID scenario, that there was 2 or 3 extra wins that you had because you got shafted that would have actually gotten you 10, 11 wins as well.
Never mind shafted. How about you had a defense that people said could win a Super Bowl that couldn't get a fucking stop?
Yeah.
The only game they were shafted out of, Jim, let's be real honest, because he didn't play well because he was playing injured. The only game the Browns got shafted out of that year was the Christmas Day game in Green Bay.
And the San Diego game as well, where the receiver pulled down where the receiver grabbed the Browns defensive back, and the Browns defensive back got called, even though every replay in the building saw it, because that was the walk-off touchdown.
Well, they had a 28-point lead in the fourth quarter. Get a stop before that happens. It doesn't happen.
I agree, but if that's actually called offensive pass interference on fourth down, the Browns decline that penalty and take over.
I understand. I understand. But the game could have been stopped with one stop earlier in the fourth quarter when they put up 28 points.
I agree. I agree with that. But still, that was the momentum changer, because then by the time the Chargers score, there's under 90 seconds left.
I know. I mean, this sounds like a lot of sour grapes for me, but do you understand how bad I was rooting for Baker when he took them down when he was with Carolina in that week 1 game?
Yeah.
And he took the lead. I was like, dude, this would be the ultimate poetic justice. But it didn't happen. Again, we're going to do an NFL preview in the coming weeks.
Although really, either way, we wouldn't have actually had a problem, because the guy who won the game, for the Browns was not the guy who we have the problem with.
That's true. And I happen to like Jacoby Brissett.
Everybody likes Jacoby.
Yeah, I mean, or Sanika, whichever way you want to call him. You said it. But we will be coming with an NCAA or college football and also a NFL preview in the coming weeks. We'll get them scheduled and get that out to you guys once we know the exact dates we're going to be doing that. But I want to move over real quick to let's move over to baseball real quick if we could, just for a minute.
Did you see the announcement with your Buckeyes before we shift over to baseball?
Which one? About the opening of practice?
No, the uniforms for the Michigan State game.
I like them. I'm not a huge fan of the. I'm a traditionalist. There are only 2 non-traditional uniforms Ohio State's worn since I became a fan that I've liked. The first one, okay, 3. The All Blacks, the old-timey red with the gray inlets.
Okay.
From like the 50s with the solid red helmets.
Yeah.
And the Snow Whites that they wore at Michigan a couple times.
Okay. Yeah, Buckeye hater or not, the All Blacks are very cool.
Especially with where it makes the red pop really nice.
Right. The gray ones with the red numbers, they're just boring to me. They're incredibly it's color rush. I get that, and they should actually make Michigan State wear green head to toe. They're going to be in their green jerseys, but make them wear their green pants as well to go with the green helmets. But it's boring.
I think that's why I like them.
There's certain things that you should not do with color rush. You should not be head to toe gray.
I think it'll look cool.
When the Lions do it, it's terrible.
Yeah, I think it'll look cool when they have the red LeBron spikes to go with it. Do you remember the first time they wore them?
No.
It was against Michigan because that's a Jordan. That's not a Nike branding. That's a Jordan branding. And he gave the entire team the spikes the week of the Michigan game.
How many of them sold them for tattoos? Oh,
doesn't really matter anymore because now they're making money hand over foot. Did you see Marvin Harrison Jr. signed an NIL deal with the people that do the Epsom salts? I swear to God.
You have to stop the Q-tip when there's resistance.
I saw that and I'm like, what? You don't want to advertise foot problems going into the draft, you dumb bastard. What the fuck?
Anyway,
So let's. Speaking of my Buckeyes too, did you see that they're opening the first two practices of fall season to the student body and to the general public? I thought that was cool. Yeah, I thought that was cool. Especially one of the beat writers was saying it's such a big change in the last 15 years because Tressel didn't allow anybody into practice. Urban let a few here and there, and Ryan Day's opening up to the public for the first two. I'm telling you something right now. That defense is going to be better than people think.
I haven't really looked. I'll probably tear into it. I'll probably look starting next week because you figure everyone's got training camps opening next week, college and pro.
Yeah, I know. And if for nothing else, Jim Knowles knows not to run cover zero every other fucking play
that we know of.
Yeah. I think Ryan Day would kill him if he tried that shit again. What was the other one?
A great year for Ryan Day is that if they don't actually reach a Big Ten championship,
no.
Not so much that he's out, but is he actually starting to be questioned as a second-tier level coach?
No. For two reasons. One, his recruiting is too good. And the second reason is this. Everybody's like, oh, he took Urban's team. Does no one remember he was the OC starting in 2017? And the OCs, the coordinators do more, and the coordinators and the position coaches do more recruiting than anybody else. So, no, it wasn't Urban's team. It was Ryan Day's team. Let me put it to you this way. Ryan Day came in. He has been to 3 college football playoffs. He has been to 1 national championship game. He's got 2 Big Ten titles. Urban didn't win his first Big Ten title till year 4. Year 3, excuse me.
Because year
3.
Year 2, wasn't it year 2 or was it year 2 or year 1 they had the postseason ban?
Year 1 was the postseason ban. Year 2 was the year Michigan State just smoked them.
Yes.
In the Big Ten championship game, and then they beat Wisconsin the next year. So year 3. Day had 2 titles his first 2 years. I'm going to say this, and it's going to piss a lot of people off that watch. Pump the fucking brakes. Jim Harbaugh is 2-5 in 7 tries. He'd be 2-6 if they didn't punk out of the 2020 game. Calm yourself. Harbaugh's been at Michigan 8 years. He's won 2 games.
Yeah,
Stop.
We'll talk about this next month because once we can really kind of dive in. We'll play the schedule game and we'll try and see.
That'll work.
We'll see where the trap games might be with some of the elite programs. Your Ohio State, your Alabamas, your Oklahomas, your Georgias, etc.
Dude, what the fuck is Feinbaum thinking? Did you see that?
I don't pay attention to anything that.
Dude, he said if Saban doesn't make the playoff this year, his legacy is forever tarnished. Feinbaum, I know you went to Tennessee and they beat Alabama last year. Pump your fucking brakes, bro.
You don't listen to Paul Feinbaum at all, period.
I listen to Feinbaum because he hates Harbaugh.
That's the only thing that comes out of his mouth that you can agree with half the time. I mean, you.
Oh, yeah.
And the only reason I cheer for Harbaugh is out of spite because of my hatred of the Buckeyes.
I know. No one likes khaki pants. But unfortunately for people like you, he's a necessary evil.
Yeah, it is kind of a lesser of two evils.
His brother's an asshole, too.
Yeah, because, I mean, let's be honest. For me, he's the only one right now with a program who's got a quality enough chance to give the Buckeyes a run every year right now.
You see Marcus Freeman's running his mouth again?
That I did see.
Dude, Notre Dame Stadium is not what it once was. Pump the brakes. And you ran such a tight ship that your linebackers coach left and went back home. Shut up. Shut up. But yeah, we'll dive in more because I want to talk more about Kyle McCord when we do the preview next month. So let's get into baseball as I flip my phone on to see how badly the Mets lost this game. They got it to 8-6. Scherzer, you're a piece of garbage. I swear to Christ. Although he's pitched good recently. And I got to tell you, I was busting Alex's chops last week because the Mets played the White Sox.
Love you to death, Alex. It ain't hard to do.
No, although I didn't realize they were playing it. They had a getaway day game on Wednesday. And, of course, my phone buzzes at like 3:30. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Oh, they were playing again, and they lost to the White Sox. I'm going to have to hear this shit.
Oh, Alex, I'm pulling for you guys right now. The Guardians did their job tonight, and the Twins are up 3-2 in the top of the ninth. There's 2 out and 2 on.
Yo, Tanner Bybee looked phenomenal.
From what I heard. I can't believe Bryce is already playing first base again.
I can, because I think Rhys Hoskins is farther behind than they think.
Yeah, but still, especially after coming off of Tommy John, they said that he was not going to play first base at all this year. And then he actually makes that diving catch in the first inning last night.
Who the hell does he think he is?
Superman.
I might almost move him there permanently.
I mean, I could definitely, understand that. If you're going to get him back into field shape, absolutely. But because it's probably the least amount of wear and tear on his arm.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he had the moment of the year so far. He hit a double down the line the other night. Did you see this? And Trey Turner got the brakes put on him at third, and he was standing on third base, kind of huffing and puffing. Bryce points at him, at Turner, goes 30, because Turner just turned 30, and did the wheelchair thing.
The Ozzie Guillen.
That was the absolute best.
Oh wait, no, that wasn't. That was Ozzie Guillen to
David Ortiz.
Yeah,
he tried to bunt against a shift. But the best part of that wasn't the wheelchair. It was that he did the spit in the hands and the slap the batting gloves together before he did it. So let me give you what he was up against tonight, Mr. Bybee. Zach Wheeler went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 earned run, walked 1, struck out 8. That's what Wheeler did tonight. Tanner Bybee, 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Dude, he's got is that a 304?
Yep, that's a 304. I got ESPN up right now.
And Zach Wheeler's almost at 4.
On 102 pitches, and it was a Cleveland starter getting into the 7th inning. Name the last time that happened.
I don't know.
Because right now, everyone's actually saying about how good their bullpen is. Their bullpen sucks.
Yeah, their bullpen has been shit.
I was listening. Every day on my lunch break, weather permitting, during the warm weather, I will actually go out and walk the block at my office. It's 1.3 miles, and they were playing that afternoon game against Pittsburgh. They were up 4-0 when I walked out the door to get started, and then in the 20 minutes I was listening, I got through 2 innings, and it was 7-4 by the time I walked back in the building.
Jim, we were talking about the Mets and the White Sox. The Mets were up 11-4. They won 11-10. Don't talk to me about bullpen. Because as I said to Alex the other day, the biggest thing that happened to the Mets was Diaz getting hurt. And I can't believe I said it, because just 2 years ago, I was requesting he be sent back to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, but with this Guardians game I was listening to the other night, it was also the 3rd consecutive game that they blew at least a 3-run lead after the 7th inning. In this game, not only did they give up, Pittsburgh had pulled their best hitter for a pinch hitter who ended up walking, and then led to the floodgates opening in the 7th inning. They gave up the first major league hit to a reserve catcher, to a rookie who was 0 for 7 in his career with 6 strikeouts to that.
Oh.
Yeah. Let him get on, and then gave up a 2-run double to a guy who was in a slump to put him ahead.
Why did I just see Major League 2 pop through my head when Vaughn's talking to the girlfriend about the guy he gave the home run up to? It was his first home run ever?
That ball wouldn't have been out of many parks. Name one.
Yellowstone. Wasn't that cut from the first movie?
What?
That line was cut from the first movie. That's why they put it in the second one.
I want to say so, but it also fit a little bit better in the second one.
That's true.
And I actually have no problem that I like the teacher more than the ad exec in the second one.
Oh, me too. You know who she's supposed to be, right? When he's at the jukebox in the first one. And the girl comes up and goes, "Wild thing, you make my heart sing," and he breaks the fourth wall looking at the camera. That's supposed to be her.
Wow. I never knew that.
Dude. Those Easter egg things, I love them. So, Jim, we're talking about possible Major League Baseball expansion, which 20 years after Bud Selig said the words contraction when discussing the Montreal Expos and the Minnesota Twins, I think is a nice thing to see for baseball. We're also talking about NBA expansion somewhere down the line as well. So, with Vegas off the table, because... Sorry, I hit the mute button as I set up. With Vegas off the table because of the pending move of the Oakland Athletics to Las Vegas, what cities do you think we're going to end up in? And Savannah's not an option because if they move the Bananas, I'll be pissed.
Well, let's actually. I'm working on something right now. I had this earlier in the week at my office, and somehow, some way, it did not save. Let's actually play a little game here. So talk amongst yourselves. Give me about 30 seconds here.
So while Jim is setting up today's match game extravaganza, I'm not sure where they can expand to that's going to be any better than where they're at now. I think they ate up the towns that will really draw when they added Tampa Bay, who doesn't draw. And they added Colorado years ago. They added Tampa and Arizona came in at the same time. Colorado came in with the Marlins. So I don't really know where they're going to go, and I think that's what we're going to be talking about when Jim puts up this graphic.
Yeah, it's okay. So I'm ready, and I'm going to share this here. So let's actually, because the story that was coming out was that if they do expand, look for a very, very radical kind of realignment.
This is interesting, this realignment, because the Eastern Division is going to be absolute clinical fucking insanity.
Not that big. Okay. How is that showing up here? It's a little bit better. Okay, so taking things completely off the table here, you could put them in any league that you want. And who would be, so we'll do, so Mike and I will kind of brainstorm here with this. We'll, I think that might be better. Yeah, that shows up a little bit better. So, like, if you got teams changing conferences, so to speak, it's because let's also be honest, because everyone actually said, I think somebody on the on Cleveland radio said it best earlier this week when the topic was broached that, since you haven't had league presidents since the mid '80s, you've got interleague play. Pitchers don't hit anymore. Why is the need and interleague play? You don't really need an American and National League. You'll keep them called that, for whatever. But let's get nuts.
So here is one that was proposed, and they go to conferences as opposed to leagues. So you have Eastern Conference, Western Conference. The East Division in the Eastern Conference for this. You ready for this? It's 4 teams long, Jim.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and you put yours up, and then I'll put my 4 up, and then also you can say who you would like to see as an expansion team.
So in the Eastern Conference, the East Division is the Boston Red Sox, the New York Mets, the New York Yankees, and the Philadelphia Phillies. Do you understand the absolute insane level of blood hate in that division?
Oh, absolutely. That would be the black and blue division.
So from there, you go to the North Division on the Eastern Conference. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Detroit, and Toronto.
Okay, Reds,
Guards,
Tigers,
Blue Jays. The Mid-Atlantic Division
we'll call it the
is... Yeah. No, because there's a Southeast Division, too.
South. Okay.
The Mid-Atlantic is Baltimore, an expansion team in Charlotte, Pittsburgh, and the Nationals.
Okay.
The Southeast Division is Atlanta, Miami, an expansion team in Nashville, and Tampa Bay.
Okay, here's the ironic thing is the 2 teams that they have expanding is exactly who I have. And I'll explain why here in a minute, but go ahead and go into your Western Conference.
So the Western Conference Midwest Division. Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, and Twins. That's the MLB Norris division right there.
Okay.
The Southwest Division. Houston, Kansas City, St. Louis, and Texas.
Okay.
The Pacific Coast Division. Colorado, Las Vegas, Seattle, San Francisco.
I need to stop myself for a minute on Las Vegas. That was Rockies, A's.
Rockies, A's, Mariners, and Giants. Leaving the West Division,
Giants, Dodgers.
Diamondbacks, Angels, Dodgers, and Padres. That Eastern Division in the Eastern Conference would be absolute fucking insanity. And by the way, I like Charlotte and Nashville, by the way.
Yeah, it's okay, so that's what Mike's has. So he's got his kind of set up here with Eastern Western conferences. I'm keeping
Just cutting for a second. No, I just had to cut the camera for a second. Go on.
Okay, so I'm actually keeping AL, NL, but I'm kind of actually setting it up a little bit kind of like how the NFL is, so to speak. So it's still, you got teams all over the country here, so you're not dividing East and West like you are, even like with hockey or basketball. So in the American League East, I'm going Blue Jays, Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles.
So you're keeping it traditional American League, National League?
Not necessarily, because let's get nutty here. And this is, so we'll go Mike, and then Jim. In my AL North, talk about a clusterfuck there. So I've already
What's
got
yours?
Guardians, Reds, Nashville, Detroit.
Ooh.
And I'll explain
I think-
why here. I'll explain that why when I get over to the other side.
And the other thing I like there too is the way you're doing it. You're leaving some of those rivalries together.
Yes. To an extent. If I go to the
Yeah.
South, Rays, Astros, Royals, Rangers. So I'm taking deep, deep south here.
Yeah, but if
Let's
you're
see.
taking deep south, you're missing Atlanta and you're missing Miami and you're missing Tampa.
I'm getting there, though.
I know.
If I go west, Angels, Mariners, Athletics, Diamondbacks. So I've already got 2 teams crossing over from the NL into the AL, and I've already got an expansion team in there. If we go over now to the National League, we're going Nationals, Mets, Phillies, the Pittsburgh Pirates. And just wait, there's more. In the North, Brewers, Twins, Cubs, White Sox.
I like that.
In the South, Atlanta. So we're going Braves, your Charlotte expansion team, Marlins,
And Tampa.
Cardinals. Because I've already got the Rays over on the south side in the AL.
Oh, because you're keeping them as close to what they are as before.
Right. And then that actually just leaves Dodgers,
Giants,
Padres.
Diamondbacks, Padres,
Giants, and Rockies.
Rockies. Excuse me.
So I've got 2 teams switching conferences, and I'm putting an expansion team in either one. And the reason why I'm actually going Nashville and Charlotte is because with a lot of these North teams, the weather sucks so early in the season that they don't get consistently decent and playable enough weather until mid to late April. So if you put 2 teams if you put a team in Nashville and a team in Charlotte, they're still big enough markets and they're in warm enough climates that you can actually give another option for some of these teams to start on the road for a week or so out of the gate here. So that's actually where I have everything set. So we've got the White Sox and the Twins crossing over into the NL, and then we're moving the Reds and the Diamondbacks into the AL, and then we're putting one expansion team in each conference.
No, I like that. I think if they do the radical realignment, which is that was what Jim Bowden had done months ago when talking about it, what I read off, because I love it. Unfortunately, I'm going to say it like this. The media is going to be so hyped up on that East Division that you're going to not see. I mean, we already don't see Trout and Ohtani. You're going to not see them more because those 4 heavyweights in that East Division, with the Mets being the lightest of the heavyweights, that's, oh my God, the blood hate. Met Yankees, Red Sox. Come on,
And
that's asking for trouble.
Media attention from that's basically, you know what that's actually going to turn into? That's going to basically be that AL East in the model that you have. That's basically going to be your SEC, and that's going to be the one drawing all the media coverage and taking it away from all the talent elsewhere where all of your other heavy hitters would be.
Agreed. They'd be the version of the SEC West and the Big Ten East.
Pretty much.
Look, if that's the way they're going to go with expansion, I don't think you're going to be too far off from what either one of us just put on there. You can't be.
Because I really wanted to put Pittsburgh in the AL North, but it kind of shuts the idea of Nashville or Charlotte out. And I think geographically Nashville would work because it's not that from Cincinnati to, I mean, really, Detroit to Nashville is going to be the longest trek there. Everything else here is still, Toronto to Baltimore, not terrible. You've got Florida. You've got Tampa going to Dallas, essentially Dallas Fort Worth. But I mean that AL West, it's the worst case you have there, and you still get this already would be Arizona going to Seattle, where you've already got Seattle going to Houston as is. So it actually kind of shortens that a little bit. That the geographic identity um, of that NL North with Milwaukee, Minnesota, and Chicago. I mean, that's 6 hours, basically just to do the loop, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, St. Louis to Charlotte or St. Louis to any one of those teams in the NL South in my model, not the worst thing in the world. Um, the the NL West again, it's just kind of like it's almost exactly like how the North is set up for just how close everyone is geographically, and I decided to keep the two Pennsylvania teams together. Now, yeah, the Mets lose their natural rivalry with their longstanding blood rivalry with the Braves. Um, and the Phillies here, but I mean they're still in the same conference, so you still get
Yeah.
those games. And quite honestly, do we need to see Phillies Mets, or do we need to see you know Red Sox Yankees 85 times a year? Because it loses
Well,
its luster.
it depends. Now, what it depends on is if they're all playing well. If they're all playing well, and you got teams that really just don't like each other, it gets even more fun.
Well, the other idea about going to this is that it's not like what you have now, where you're stacking divisional games because the fact
They
that
don't do that anymore.
right, because you've got four teams. Now you've only got three, and it opens things up so much more by going to 32 and then going to four fours in each conference.
Yeah, but this is the first year of the non-stacked scheduling. You do play your division more, but you've always done that once they went to divisional play.
But this
It's not 19. It's not 19 anymore because you play everybody.
right.
They
because
went to the
this
NFL type schedule.
this shaves that down even more. It's like you figured you may only end up. I mean, sure, the Guardians in our models would play the Reds, Tigers, and Blue Jays in yours, and then the Reds, Tigers, and whoever Nashville would be here. But do you need to play them 9, 10, 12 times a year? No, you could probably get by with doing about 8 or 9 games each per season, and that opens you up for everything, and then you still get the other conference for a home and home series at some point during the schedule, like you kind of do now. Although the Guardians just got done playing. The Guardians play the Cardinals later this year, but it's the only time that they meet. What, a couple of years ago, even when they were still loading the divisions with the interleague, you got you played everyone during the season. So, the more kind of diluted you make this, the more opportunity you're going to be able to get to at least see one team in baseball for a home series every year.
Yeah, no, I like the way they're doing this. Would you do Louisville instead of Nashville?
No. I don't think Louisville's big enough, and I also think Nashville has already shown that they can just the state can support major franchises, because you see what the Titans do, and then you also see what the Grizzlies do. Even though Knoxville and Nashville, they're not adjacent to one another, but they will support that, and also especially as well as SEC baseball has done. I think it just makes more sense to put them in Nashville.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be fun. And what'd they say? A couple years for this, right?
More than likely, it's now if we're kind of in agreement as to the two expansion teams here, but where else could you potentially put them? Because the well's dry. You're not going back to Oakland. You lost the Vegas
No.
option. I don't see Oklahoma City being viable enough.
No, I don't see it either. Not OKC for baseball. I tell you what would be. Wichita would be.
Wichita could be interesting because it would be the first major professional sports team in that state.
Wichita could be, but you got to remember, Wichita is also the home of college baseball. So a
Right.
lot of these guys are playing at Rosenblatt Stadium, and then a couple years later will be coming back as big leaguers. You plant the seed of having been seen there already. I make a joke and say Iowa just because of the Field of Dreams, but I don't think Iowa could handle it.
The only drawback I would have with Wichita is that because of its proximity to the two Missouri teams, I think you're oversaturating the market in that area, in that part of the country.
It's possible. But what else are you saturating the market with there? Yeah, the two Missouri teams between Kansas City and St. Louis, that's wonderful. But when you get with Wichita, after that, what do you have? It's Wichita to Colorado.
That's true.
So you'd have a fan base that could, in theory, do what happened in the 60s when you brought the Mets in. And that is pick up all the fans that want a hometown team and bring them into that fan base. Met fans are the children of Dodgers and Giant fans from before they left New York. And because their parents hated the Yankees, they didn't root for them. The Mets showed up, and they outdrew the Yankees every year when they were hot garbage.
Because you wouldn't put a third team in Ohio. You don't have a market big enough to support a third team in Pennsylvania. Could you almost see a scenario where, but then again, no, you wouldn't want to oversaturate because of where they are. It would definitely oversaturate. I was thinking Buffalo, but also Buffalo wouldn't be able to contain something, even though because the Bills are playing out in Orchard Park now, and there's not enough room in downtown Buffalo to build a full-size stadium there.
No, and you can try and expand the minor league stadium, but then you lose the Bisons
Right.
for whoever the Bisons. Who are they the minor league affiliate of? Are they Toronto's minor league affiliate?
Yes. Because that's where the Blue Jays played in the COVID year when they couldn't
That's
cross
right.
the border into Canada.
That's right. And, of course, Rochester is, I think, the Nationals. No, the National. Yeah. Rochester, I think, is the Nationals because Syracuse is the Mets. Yeah, you couldn't add a third team in Western New York or even Central New York because, again, you also have lake effect snow.
Right.
I don't see a second team in the Maryland, D.C. area. Yeah, Charlotte, maybe Charleston, maybe.
You couldn't put another one in Florida because you've already hit all the big markets there. So you've got Tampa, you've got Miami.
I mean, you could put one in Orlando at the Wide World of Sports, where the Braves do spring training.
Potentially. So I mean, Orlando's a possibility here. I don't think baseball. I mean, granted, baseball is big, especially with college baseball, but I can't actually see them being in like Jackson, Mississippi, or Birmingham or something like that. But then again, if you're going to do that, you've already got Charlotte and Nashville in this model. You've already got Houston, you've already got Dallas, and in Texas, so you've already got your two big hammers there. We've already talked about Oklahoma City. You can't go too much higher into the plains north of Denver because of the altitude and the weather conditions.
How about Oregon?
Would you put somebody that close in proximity, though, especially with not so much even tapping into the Seattle market, but Portland gets more rain than Seattle would.
So you put one up with a dome. You're going to have to build a ballpark anywhere you go. Put up one with a roof. They did it in Milwaukee.
I mean, it would have to be retractable.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You put the retractable roof on it. You make that part of the. I think you should do that wherever you do this.
I don't think in Charlotte or Nashville that you'll have to though. Now, granted, Charlotte does get a lot of hurricanes, coming up there, but it's how much is that really going to displace them? I mean, how often do we actually see sporting events get canceled when those storms move up the coast like that? What, it displaces them for a week at most, which is what, a series, with the way that baseball
Something like that.
Yeah.
But me personally, I think the retractable roof should be any team that builds a new stadium where you have 4 seasons. Because look, Atlanta got a new stadium recently. They don't have 4 seasons in Atlanta. They have 2. I think you got to put a dome on anything, because the biggest issue people have with baseball right now is that you have too many rainouts in April or snowouts. Why you build a friggin' stadium on the top of a mountain to play a spring and summer sport and don't put a dome on the damn thing?
Yep. And this is where I also think potentially that the new stadium in Vegas could be retractable, because number one, it could be multi-purpose, especially where they're going to be putting it on the strip there. But secondly, with that dry desert heat and the fact that there's not going to be anything around it, with the fact, there's going to be everything around it, I think playing conditions there would be worse than than heat indexes in Arizona.
Vegas has got to be indoors, because then you can't play any day games.
I think you could if you actually. I think more so that they go the retractable route.
I think so too, but you got to have a dome availability to play in Vegas. That's going to be interesting coming down the pipe. It really is.
Yeah, this is where, I mean, as much as we enjoy who comes out with new uniforms and new logos and everything in the off season, even more fun than that is expansion talk.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of new stuff, did you see what they may do in Washington?
Are we talking Commanders or are we talking Nationals?
Commanders.
I heard some rumblings about this, because the only thing that I've actually seen is Snyder's sale officially went through and then they sanctioned him $60 million.
Yeah, that was awesome. But, no, Magic Johnson, who's on the ownership group for the Commanders now, the new one, they've hinted they may change the name after this season. Could we get the Washington Sentinels? Could we get opening day 2025 with Shane Falco leading them onto the field? How awesome would that be?
If they did that, that would be one of the options. But the other option I would think would be, because I really like the Commanders name. I don't think they go Brigade. The other thing I was thinking is they tap into the DC sports lore, and they actually and we get the Washington Senators.
I don't think the Texas Rangers gave up the rights to that name, or else they would have named the Nationals the Senators.
And then also with the that also I think would never fly, just because of the political unrest and division in this country right now, because it would be
possible
so many different ways.
Possible, but you got to remember something too. They were the Senators long before the bullshit started. Walter Johnson played for the Washington Senators. Ted Williams managed the Washington Senators. So did Gil Hodges, for that matter.
And you also figure, if we're going back 20, 30 years, that's kind of the theme of teams that get franchises back after losing them. Remember, the Winnipeg Jets left then actually moved back from Atlanta and became the Winnipeg Jets again. Um, who was the Ottawa Senators did the same thing. Were deactivated for 60, 70 years and came back, and the new franchise was the Senators. So that's kind of, I mean, I know it's a hockey thing, but could it work with the NFL as well?
It could. The question is, did the NHL own the name of the team, or did the actual team own it?
The See, the thing is right now with the Winnipeg Jets now, their lineage still dates back to the Atlanta Thrashers from '99 when they expanded, but then they reached a deal with the Arizona Coyotes to allow the history to continue. So I mean, if you think about it, it would be kind of like what the Browns are, is that if Baltimore really, really, really wanted to kind of, I don't want to say stick it, but be technical, their lineage could actually go back to some of those original Browns records. And then the Browns, if they actually would have come back as anything other than the Browns, would have actually had their own history going back to '99 as opposed to going back to 1930 something.
I think of a team as woven into the fabric of the community, like the Browns were. You have to err on the side of give the community what they want. That's why the Browns' name and records and everything stayed in Cleveland, because, then Commissioner Paul Tagliabue and his right hand, Roger Goodell, knew better. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see what they do. How about team names, James? What do you think? And do you think Charlotte makes jerseys like the basketball team for the baseball team?
Like the Hornets?
Like the airport?
Asshole.
McAfee would have a fucking field day.
Yeah, baseball, they really kind of, unless Nike gets their hands on shit.
Nike's already doing it.
Yeah, well, I actually don't see that happening.
Yeah, Nike's already doing it. Sorry I had to sit up. My back is killing me today.
The only thing that I keep thinking of with Nashville is I keep going back to, like, the old Arena Football League team and, like, the Nashville Cats. It would have to be something musical-oriented.
The minor league team was the Nashville Sounds. Do you take the name from them?
I could see that because the Nashville Sounds, are they still around though?
I think they're still in the show. That's where I know them from.
Yeah, they're still a thing. So
All right.
Well, if they take the name, you'd actually have to move the minor league team to someplace else.
You'd probably move the minor league team either way. You would have to put them somewhere while the stadium was being built. So the minor league stadium would be the place to go.
What would we think with Carolina?
Barbecue.
The Carolina brisket.
Oh my God. And your mascot's a big slab of beef.
Damn.
I had something for this.
Yeah.
No, I won't use the same joke we did last time.
Mom.
You've got to go see my ENT. Rampage!
God damn it.
That's my favorite episode.
Yeah, in terms of rampagement, yep.
Yeah. And it's not. It's when he does the Family Feud.
I've got it. Casablanca.
Ah, Judy Greer.
It's so weird to actually think that, not a whole lot of people knew who Judy Greer was before that, and then you think about it, she was the foul-mouthed chucklehead in 27 Dresses. She was the afraid sister in Elizabethtown.
Yeah, she's been in a few. She was on. Was she on Two and a Half Men?
I didn't watch that show very often, but yeah, I think she did a couple. I think she did a little bit of time with that.
$13 going on $30. Nice shot.
Yeah, considering the door's only open about this much.
She's from Detroit.
As I do my $5 footlong impression.
Nice. She's from Detroit.
Your arena's still named after garbage pizza.
Let's see what else she was in. She did voices in Family Guy.
Who hasn't? Outside of you and me?
True. Oh, yeah, Two and a Half Men. 13 episodes. Well, she had a little bit of a run.
See, that's one I was very, if it was on, I'll watch it for 5 minutes, but it's like,
There is a clip. There is a clip when Chris O'Donnell was on the show. He's in a bar with Charlie. And he goes, Charlie, don't you recognize me? And Charlie turns out, do I know you? It's me. Charlie goes, no. Jill? Chris O'Donnell looks at him and goes, Bill. Charlie Sheen goes, no. Cut to him leaving Charlie's house with his mother. And Alan has no idea. He goes, can you believe that? Our mother with a guy our age? Yeah, that's the problem, is what Charlie says. And he says, I just can't wrap my head around her. He's half her age. To which Charlie Sheen goes, you're going to look back on this moment with fond nostalgia.
I think from the few episodes that I've seen, I think my favorite one was where Megan Fox was on it.
Oh, she was evil too.
Yeah, but the kid just oogling her and because the warning was Charlie wasn't allowed to go near her because she was like 16.
That wasn't Megan Fox. Megan Fox played the goth chick.
No, Megan Fox actually played
Berta's granddaughter.
Yeah.
That's right. No, Angus Young, who played Jake, had the best line. Charlie made him go to ballet class because Charlie wanted to get with the teacher. And she goes, Jake, do you know what first position is? And he looks her dead in the face. Is that like missionary position? I was done. I was absolutely done.
And all this more, and as much as I'm playing Mortal Kombat, I can't wait to see what some of the intros look like for the new game coming out. Although I'm now reminiscent of Mortal Kombat X, the one previous to this, where they first started doing the voice intros, and then you had Johnny Cage facing off against Alien, and Johnny Cage says, "You know your head is shaped like a dildo."
That's great. There's only one thing we need. There's only one thing we really need in a Mortal Kombat game. We need Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Won't happen because it's WB, which has their hands in with DC primarily.
No, I know. I'm just saying, could you imagine a Johnny Cage Deadpool argument?
Could we maybe see a skin like that?
Ooh. How about this? I saw this thing here on Facebook one day. Imagine a conversation between these four people: Jack Sparrow, Sheldon Cooper, Tony Stark, and Wade Wilson.
I don't even know what to play for that.
I don't know if there's 1-2 play for that. No, there is. Kevin Harlan.
The guy is drunk, but there he goes.
I would buy popcorn for that conversation.
Yeah.
Just for Sheldon and Tony Stark to go back and forth. Because it would be Wade and Jack Sparrow that would be commenting on it from the sidelines.
And yet the funny thing is I've never seen a Pirates movie or a Deadpool movie, but I know the characters and I know the dialogue enough to know that this would actually be worth the price of admission alone.
Agreed.
Just, you know what it would be? It would be Stark and Sheldon monopolizing the conversation, but Sparrow and Wilson, it would basically be MST3K.
Yes, it would. And the words, "Where's the rum?" would come out of Sparrow's mouth, and Wade would look at him and go, "You drunk bastard." So, Jim, we're at 148 here, sir. And we've hit all topics, I think, haven't we?
We have. So.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is once again time for that phenomenon, the Wisey Translator, the segment where Jim and I give each other a topic and we spout off the first thing that comes to our sleep-abled minds. At least mine is today.
Speak for yourself, because I'll probably be up. I got all of my cleaning done today, earlier today, so tomorrow's just going out and getting lunch.
Dude, Bobby didn't nap, was asleep by 6:45. I'm going to be up early.
You mean we could have started this show at 7?
I was playing the show, no. I was playing the show and eating my gelato. Talenti, chocolate peanut butter cup, so just to recap, ladies and gentlemen, you're a dick. Could you, come on. Just to recap, ladies and gentlemen, we will give each other a name. You will hear the sound of torment of our teenage years, and then you will get the answer from each of us of what we come up with. So, Jim, I have one for you to start this evening.
Okay.
Jim, your first name in the Wisey Translator is Rory McIlroy.
Would have performed a lot better had this actually not been played on a burnt dog track.
Ah, the Lynx Golf is shit argument.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Unwatchable golf. My father and I had I don't want to say it was heated yesterday because he didn't talk to me today. I mean, typically, typically on Saturdays he's doing things, and it's I was getting stuff done, so I wouldn't have been able to answer the phone for him anyway. Also, if you remember the text I sent you earlier, I did 45 minutes on the elliptical today. So part of why we could have actually been going late is because I would have been dead. But I hate links golf. It's not even the Jim Rome argument. It's burnt grass, high wind, sand traps that look like that they were made out of Bill Murray blowing up holes on the course and then just filling them with sand afterwards. It's just,
the Carl Spackler method.
It's terrible golf. And
I do want to play at one of those
sorry.
courses before I die, but yeah.
It's the British Open. It's not the Open. It's the British Open. When every other place in tennis, it's the Australian Open. It's the U.S. Open. In golf, it's the U.S. Open. It's the Royal Canadian Open. It's the British Open.
Well, they call it the Open Championship because that's what it's always been. And I agree with you. And by the way, the Claret Jug is still a very nice trophy.
It is a very nice trophy, but it's not the Stanley Cup.
Nothing is the Stanley Cup. Dude, listen, again, one season I paid really close attention to hockey. I've paid closer attention to it since you and I started doing the show because you are a hockey guy and I don't want to seem like I'm an idiot. Well, more of an idiot. Yeah, there is no trophy in sports like the Stanley Cup. Anybody who argues the Lombardi Trophy needs to be hit with one. So what do you got for me, boss?
I didn't give a whole lot of thought to this tonight.
You put thought into this?
Michael, I hope
I literally just pulled Rory out of my ass.
I hope you saw the story earlier this week. Michael, your first edition of the YZ Translator tonight. The fans lining the streets of the Tour de France.
Y'all motherfuckers ain't got nothing better to do than watch dudes ride around in spandex?
You saw that story this week, correct?
I didn't see shit.
One guy.
The question remains.
One guy decides to do one of these. Sticks his head a little too far out on the road and causes a 10 cyclist pileup.
I'm throwing hands with that dude.
Yeah,
I might beat, because you can take the front tire off of those bikes pretty easy. I might hit him with the tire. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, just people need to I understand it's an entire countryside, that you're going through, cities, inhabited
Several
areas.
countries.
But get the fuck out of the way. You wouldn't do that, I don't think you could put up guardrails everywhere like you would with, but you got to respect it. Think of it like a marathon, even though it's a lot fewer guys and they're going past you a lot faster.
Yeah, no, that's just ridiculous. But the question stands: do y'all gonna have nothing better to do than watch dudes in spandex ride a bicycle?
And it was funny that think of how big the sport was when we were in high school, where you had Lamont passing the torch to Lance, and then I can't think of the guy from Spain who won all of those after Lance, but it's like
Miguel Indurain.
That was it.
Dude, this is why I can play the Immaculate Grid like I do, because I just have random shit in my head.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna start calling you Tucker.
Nice.
I can't believe we didn't bring that up last week, because that was probably the most quotable movie in the last 10 years.
What, Tucker and Dale?
Yep. That might be my most enjoyable thing to watch on YouTube in terms of any movie people see for the first time is that.
Really?
Yeah. Even more than Major League or anything else. It's got to be Tucker and Dale, because nobody knew about it and then it actually just it became a cult classic.
That's crazy.
God, I'd never say this, but I'm glad I'm not hung like a bear.
All right, so Jim, I got one more name for you in the Wisey translator. We're going to go in the Wayback Machine for this one.
Okay.
Jim, your second name in the Wisey translator is Kenny Rogers. The pitcher, not the singer.
First of all, thank you for the clarification. Captain Redass, who was probably more identifiable with the chicken than his pitching career, outside of a perfect game.
And the fact that he got busted for having the sticky substance during the World Series on his...
I look like I just jacked off an elephant.
That's Michael Pineda.
Actually, Pineda was the neck.
Oh, that's right. There's the one from today.
I think maybe starting next week we set aside a couple of minutes and maybe do the football and the baseball one.
Yeah, I have one. Kenny was 4% because you had to find someone who was on the Tigers and the Rangers. But my favorite one going across is you have a thing for MVP and a thing for Rookie of the Year. And I pulled out the first person to do both in the same year. It's Fred Lynn. Second one to do it was Ichiro.
Wow.
Again, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life outside of being a parent is the Jeopardy online test.
That's not what your mother said, Trebek.
You know, he would have been 83 today.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched an episode without him.
Neither have I.
You got a second one for me, or can I give the parting shot of the night?
No, I got a second one for you.
Yay.
A couple of different ways. Michael, your second name in the Wisey translator, I'm surprised we did not bring him up earlier, but he'll probably be a very, very big focal point of next week's show. Shohei Ohtani.
Number 16 for the New York Mets.
Get the fuck out of here. Good night, everybody.
Dwight Gooden met him and told him, he goes, yo, next year you can wear 16.
I'm thinking more along the lines of he should have been like Doug Gladden going, wear 69, it'll be hilarious.
Do you know what just popped into my head? The third Austin Powers movie. It's Godzilla! But it's not due to international copyright laws. But we can run like it's Godzilla!
I did not really watch most of the third one because I can't stand Beyonce.
Dude, Goldmember is so good.
That's what I've actually heard, but I was always partial to the second one.
Oh, Heather Graham?
Shaggy. Yeah.
My favorite person in The Spy Who Shagged Me was Rob Lowe as young number 2.
Yeah.
He had a cameo in the first one that was cut.
And Fred Savage with the mole showing up all different places every single time.
Molly, 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 molly.
Molly, molly, molly.
Mo. There's a bloody mole.
Things that make you go, shh.
Zip it. Look, I'm Zippy Longstocking.
When a problem comes along, you must zip it.
Let's zip it. Whoosh. Zip it good.
So, Michael, really quick before we sign off, I gotta ask, what's your TV pick of the week for something that you've actually whether you saw it or binged it or it was something new, whether it was on Disney Plus or Netflix or anything. Give us a pick for the week.
I got one for you. And it just goes to show how far ESPN has fallen in the lexicon of sports. They brought fucking slam ball back.
I liked slam ball for like a couple of weeks, but
Do you know why slam ball was so popular the first time around, Jim?
because it was unpredictable.
It made a cameo on One Tree Hill.
Do you remember the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover from the Arrowverse
Vaguely.
shows? Do you know the Anti-Monitor and the Monitor was actually, he was in Slam Ball the first time around? Lamont,
Was he really?
whatever his name is.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Gotta tell you, I like John Cryer's Lex Luthor.
He was so hateable. You wanted to slap the shit out of him.
And I like the fact that Tom Welling beat the piss out of him without the superpowers.
Uh-huh.
Here's blooper of the week on TV. Stephanie loves Supernatural. The TV show went off the air after 15 years.
Yep.
So they did a spin-off, a prequel show about their parents. Well, Tom Welling was cast by Jensen Ackles, who was in Smallville with him, and it was the EP of the Winchesters as his grandfather. So Jensen's in the last episode before the season was over, and it got canceled, unfortunately. And they said, "Who are you?" And he goes, "It's a long story. This isn't a blooper. It's a long story. It's 15 years long, which, if you're counting, is 5 years longer than Smallville." And Tom Welling goes, "Shut the fuck up."
I have to say, and you may unfriend me for this, I've never seen Smallville.
Neither have I.
I want to. It's just I didn't watch a whole lot of CW when it first aired, and then it's almost impossible to find streaming right now, and I don't actually want to have to ping an arm and a leg for it.
I think you'd like Supernatural, being very honest with you. The dynamic between the brothers, and then I would find a way to send you all the blooper reels. Oh my God.
I gotta say, my pick for the week debuted on Netflix earlier this week. It's called Muscles and Mayhem. It's the unauthorized story of the American Gladiators.
I have to watch that.
It is, I want to say, 4 or 5 episodes. You can binge the entire thing in under 3 hours, and it talks with all of the, a lot of the originals. They talk with Dan Nitro Clark. They talk with Gemini. They talk with Lori Fetrick, who everyone remembers as Ice Ice Baby, Erica Anders, who was Diamond, Tower.
Tower.
God, they talk with
What was
lot of them.
what was the name of the one where they're shooting the tennis balls at you? Was that the Eliminator? Assault. I loved that one.
Yeah, they talk with Faye. I can't think of a Faye Howlett, who was the original Zap. But you see,
Nice.
You see all the stories about how the show nearly they went back. How we all remember the American Gladiators was like rewritten midway through the first season because of how bad it came off, and then like how certain gladiators that everyone remembers from the very early seasons, like Malibu, like Sunny, like Gold, they all end up getting released or whatnot because they suffered injuries and never came back because of it. How there was kind of a power play by some of the original gladiators, like in the 4th season, where like Ice and Gemini and Nitro, and I'm trying to think of who the other one was, and Zap wanted more money from residuals, so they ended up letting them go and brought in like Saber and Hawk and Elektra, who was my all-time favorite because she was stunningly hot. But it was also that they were trying to move things away because Elektra was like the most anti-gladiator because she was the more athletic and gymnast. She wasn't like totally, ripped up bodybuilder like most of the other ones were, but it was like it was just very, very well done. They didn't talk with a bunch of them, but then there was a lot of things like they didn't cover like how Hawk and Siren had since passed away. I think Malibu just died a couple of months ago. Yeah, Hawk died from, it wasn't drugs or anything, and I know unfortunately Siren, who was the deaf one, she committed suicide a number of years ago from depression.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So, but there is something else coming out soon, James, that I think you and I will want to spend some time on a couple episodes about. In the coming weeks, Netflix will debut Johnny Football.
Untold, that's right, the new season.
And the 2008 Florida Gators, which was nothing but a bunch of criminals led by Jesus Incarnate.
That is probably the best sports documentary series there is.
I like 30 for 30. Bless you.
Thank you.
Mostly for Believeland.
Yeah.
And with Believeland, the forethought to go back and redo the ending after they won.
Right.
But Believeland itself is outstanding.
Right, because they didn't actually they didn't turn us into laughing stocks. Like everybody.
No,
didn't turn it into a action piece like every other story about Cleveland's futility is.
Exactly. So next week on the 29th, we will come to you 9 o'clock, Wise Guys channel. We will be breaking down the upcoming trade deadline for Major League Baseball. We'll get into opening of training camps and what have you. We'll see, how much trouble the Browns cause in rural West Virginia. Keep Deshaun away from the farmer's daughter. That's all I'm saying. Don't look at me like that. You knew it was coming.
You notice how I'm not looking at you.
Yeah, I know. He. And then we have a week off coming.
We're not talking about Daisy Duke or the Hee Haw Girls, man.
And this is why you and I work so well together. And then, Jim, we have a week off, as I will be in Florida the first weekend of August, where we will celebrate my darling wife's birthday with her dad. So then we will be back after the 20th. We'll be back the 12th. If you haven't noticed, everybody, Saturday nights become our thing because we can stay up later. At least I can.
I mean, I can actually go back to how it was before. Like, I ended up getting, streaming service, and I can always just watch the Hallmark movie the following morning or later on.
Well, on Peacock, it's going to be there.
Yeah, but Peacock they stream it live, but you can't DVR off of that, and then they typically only keep it up for like 3 or 4 days.
See, I don't watch any of the Hallmark movies, so it doesn't matter to me.
I'll just DVR them. It's not a problem.
Well,
getting something to watch on Sunday morning before the NFL games start.
That's very true.
On the fall, at least.
By the way, did you see NBC announced their Big Ten pregame crew for the nighttime games?
I saw this and I forgot who it was.
Well, one of them is Joshua Perry, former Ohio State linebacker, who is big on the Big Ten network. I saw him, NBC pregame. You want to touch on Northwestern next week, or do you want to leave Patty Fitz alone?
Yeah, let's do that next week, just because that was the last thing I blogged about. I want to say about 2 weeks ago. It's Because I'll be completely honest, I don't have anything to plug because right now there isn't anything to talk about in the world of sports outside of, I mean, there's not a whole lot of monumental news stories in baseball. We got, basketball, football, and hockey having open training camps. They're still well into their off season. The British Open, I could care less about, and then really outside of that, all that there is soccer, which outside of the women's game, the Women's World Cup, isn't a sport. I can care less about.
And they play tomorrow. They play tomorrow at 1:00 against Canada. By the way. So this year, when Big Ten Saturday Night for NBC kicks off, Todd Blackledge will be the lead analyst. Catherine Tappan is the sideline reporter. And here's a name you're familiar with. Noah Eagle will be the lead play-by-play guy for NBC's college football programming.
Where do
Yes,
we know that?
that is the son of Mr. Ian Eagle himself.
And Ian Eagle is one of the best there is.
Him and his kid did college basketball games together, and they were phenomenal.
It's still going to be weird knowing that eventually I'm going to have to, watch March Madness games and not seeing Ian Eagle and Chip Spanarkel not together.
Yeah, that's going to be rough. They announced today, though. Okay, so here it is for the pregame show. It's former Ohio State linebacker Joshua Perry, former USC quarterback Matt Castle, and Michael Robinson from Penn State. And Ahmed Fareed will serve as the show's reporter. Maria Taylor will be the host of that show.
Okay.
So that'll be every Saturday night. They say wherever the big games are, they will be on location every week. So you could have a chance where if it is a marquee game on a Saturday night in the Big Ten, you could have Fox and NBC there at the same time. Although, no, because they usually do the big noon Saturday games. Fox does.
Yeah, typically. And then, you're going to have some massive, massive marquee game where you're going to actually have Fox, ESPN, and NBC all there.
ESPN's already said they're going to focus on the teams they can broadcast.
Before too long, it's all going to be one giant muddled mess, so it's not going to make a difference anyway.
I'm going to ask you one final question, and then we'll sign off for the night. With that in mind, that ESPN will only have access to the teams they can broadcast, and you're going to have to wrap your head around this one. How long before Herbie goes NFL totally?
Thinking right now with the money that he's actually getting paid for NFL Network and whatever else. I mean, if they give him
Prime.
And Prime, it's 2 years, 3 years, maybe.
Never mind the money. He now has no way other than to skip working to go see his kid play.
Very, very true.
And it's all because ESPN decided Nick Saban's scrotum was more important than broadcasting good games.
You're really going to close the show on that image?
No, I'm going to close the show on this image. I should have said that earlier. Yeah, that's bad. I'm sorry. I'm going to close it. I'm going to close it on this image. There was a Little League home run tonight in Major League Baseball. Jeff McNeil singles up the middle. Alonso and Lindor score. McNeil goes to take second, and the catcher from the Red Sox slips on home plate and throws the ball to the green monster. He threw it so far to center field, and the center fielder didn't back up right, that McNeil actually jogged in.
Yeah, but people also forget with the Green Monster, because of the fact that it's so high, it's that Jack Elliott, Mr. Baseball syndrome, is I could piss over that fence.
Ron Darling even said that because he's from New England, he's born in Hawaii and spent his youth in Massachusetts. He said the first time I ever was on the field here was Game 4 of the World Series in '86. I stood on the mound, I looked over my shoulder, and went, "Whoa, that is close."
King of JUCO.
Nice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you back here next week at 9 o'clock, or, well, somewhere around there, depending on technical difficulties. Jim, as always, it is an honor and a pleasure.
As I do my Larry Zabisco on the way out.
Very good. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.